Yeah, we should probably get into that for our audience that may be listening. It's what the heck you're talking about, fractional and interim and all this. So maybe we could just define that. The way I look at it, like you said, you just described it, Dan. It's fractional is where you're spreading yourself out on a part-time basis, potentially beyond more than one client. Whereas your interim roles or interim executives is where you're dedicated exclusively to one client on a full-time basis. Is that accurate?
Yeah, and maybe I could jump in because, as you guys know, I'm a member of CXO Partners. But also, interestingly enough, CXO Partners came out of their original calling, which was Tech CXO. They grew their business in kind of that less than $50 million space, doing fractional. Really, CFOs was the main part of the business. And then they got into the IT side of things. And so now they were starting to see some emerging needs with on the supply chain space, and I've joined them. And so the way they've defined it, and again, this kind of gets gray, but those, I'll call it less than 40, $50 million companies where you're going in there on a part-time basis. We target our business unit, Tech CXO with that, and we bring a fractional solution in there. And fractional is decide just how you define it. 1 day a week, 2 days a week, or sometimes it may be, I want you 40 hours a month. And I find that work is either there to advise the current leader or it's to do a specific project for the current leader where they need a burst of resource. Within our firm, then, in that kind of 50 to 200 million space, that's when we launch CXO Partners. And what we're seeing the differentiation being is we use the word interim instead of fractional. Because once you start getting a company with that size and scale, it's hard to do that job 1 day a week or 2 days a week. These are roles that really need that full focus. And so we're finding in these interim roles, people for the most part are dedicated full time to these clients or four out of 5 days a week because the job demands that. And that's where we've made the differentiation of segments, if you will. Chris, what's your experience been? Similar?
Yeah, I think it's actually really similar to that. And as you said, there are some parts of this where this idea of fractional and interim has existed for a lot longer. And I think it's in finance are probably the most. And what you find is people who are familiar with that, they are the ones who were calling and said, could we do this on the marketing side? Could we do this on the supply chain side? So I think your definitions are very consistent with what I have seen in my experience in the last few years. There may not be an official definition, but I think the characterizations you have are pretty common.